No Patience for Profits. The Two Business Guys Mastermind on why entrepreneurs want open sesame money. Enjoy. This business podcast, The Two Business Guys Mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. So hey everybody, we're back, and John and I, we want to talk, have a serious conversation with you today. The two business guys want to mastermind on, some problems that we have ourselves, and we want to mastermind today on the, no patience for profits, right? I call it, John, the open sesame money. Entrepreneurs want to just start and the money flows in, right? And I was listening to personally some podcasts yesterday myself that they were talking about that, and they were like, we just think we're going to start podcasts, we're going to do news, we're going to do all these business things, and the money is just going to flow in. And John, from being in business, that just don't happen.
Yeah, and it can be discouraging. I think we forget our memories are very short as human beings, and we forget how long it actually takes to do something. It's kind of like dieting. If if you're planning on losing 30 pounds, you're not going to lose it in a week. You're stretching it out, and it's going to be a pound or two a week, or even maybe less than that, over a extended period of time. Well, business is the same way. Unfortunately, we want that quick gratification.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, and I want to solve this problem because, like, I've heard it too many times. So I said, if there's a good subject matter to mastermind on, it would be this. I was talking with an entrepreneur the other day. She started a nice little a newsletter, and no, she created a project from a newsletter idea. She had created a project and a product, and I was helping her put it up on her website, make sure the website looks good, review the last website, and it was interesting on our conversation. She really dug what I was talking about, and I think it was because she kind of saw that, I want that same impatience. I want this thing to kick off. It should be making me $1 million. My friends out there are making lots of money, and this is going to do the deal. But what wasn't taken into consideration is, you're not the only one trying to make the same money, right? And it was kind of expensive. I went on to a site that had those same things, and they were ranging from probably half of what she was asking for, right?
Mm.
Half of what she was asking for, and some of the styles were better. So I mean, this becomes that your impatience is based on what, and this is, I think, what I wanted to mastermind on is how can we present a thing that gets people into that win column, and then it gets them into what I call the snowball, right? The snowball downhill. Once you get the snowball up there, it's really tiny. You're like, what is that? This little snowball is not going to do anything. Yeah, but if somebody rolls you downhill and you gather more snow, we see what happens, right? It becomes a big deal. And that's how we have to start approaching our businesses and saying, okay, show me all of the steps that it might take. And the approach, John, that I've been doing lately that has been having just tremendous upward effect is starting off with the spreadsheet, right? And I have not, been a spreadsheet guy, if I may use that term, spreadsheet guy, the one that just got their nose in spreadsheets all the time. That's not me. But I'm understanding the power of it when I can look at, okay, here's what I need to earn the money I want to earn. Okay, you want that thing to make you $1 million? Okay, that's fine. You want that in a year? You want that in 2 years? You want that in 3 years? So starting to do it like that. Well, I just want $1 million. No, that's not reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's put something that looks reasonable. Now, I'm not talking about none of those, SMART goals, right? I came up with an acronym for SMART goals. I don't like SMART goals, by the way. You know, um, um, they're too small, I like stretch goals. But anyway, but if you're putting down something that is $1 million in a year, right, and you say to yourself, no one else out there is making $1 million, then you got to be extraordinarily creative to go get your product to make that $1 million. You've got to look at the landscape and ask, who else is getting this money? How else are people doing something besides my product? And then how can I position it? You know
And
what I mean?
I think that's a fantastic question. The other side of that too is I think that we project, or we let other individuals project what we think that may not be actually true.
Mm,
So we may think someone's more successful, or they may act or project that they're more successful at doing something than they
yeah.
really are.
Oh, yeah.
Or, I mean, the other thing too is, heck, you could be making $100,000 a week in revenue, but you could be spending $99,999 doing it.
Right. And nobody's paid. So
Right.
so if you put those kinds of calculations into the spreadsheet, and again, what I've been working with my entrepreneurs is this. Let's put it in. I did one for a young lady the other day, and I was able to watch her eyes light up as she was able to see how to take the big that she wanted. Because she had this idea, oh my, I've been working on this idea, not moving toward action, mind you,
Mm-hmm.
working on the idea, all the stuff in the mental background, everything from, I've changed my name and I've done all these different things. And I says, okay, well, let's talk about money, right? Even in my marketing, John, it's marketing to make money. No, no more of this marketing for just, branding sake. No, marketing to make money. So I talked to her and I says, hey, listen, what can we do here? Let's look at that big idea and let's make it so that within 1 week, and I put people under kind of if in 1 week you had to make money from this project, from this product, from this idea in 1 week, what would you do? Right. And you know what she did, John?
Hmm.
Amazing thing happened. Now she's been working on this for years. In 1 week, just us talking, she was able to talk me through how she would make her first $5,000. Talk me through it now. She hadn't done this part, but that's what I do as a consultant. That's what I do as a coach, is bring people to the money, right? So I says, okay, tell me, how much did you want for this thing to make you some cash? What would make you happy? She says, well, if I can make, $5,000. I said, okay, let's break it down. What is the product? Well, I'm going to do this thing, and I don't want to share all of her stuff, but and I says, well, how much you going to charge? $100. Okay, how many people you need? She did the math. She says, wait a minute, I don't need that many people. I says,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't need that many people to make $5,000. I says, nope. And I says, you were talking about if I could just get 40 people. I says, if you got 50, you hit your number.
Hmm.
And then I says, okay, who do you know that you can? I says, how could you get money? I says, now keep in mind, I threw this in, John. I says, oh, and by the way, you have no money. She said, I got no money. I says, you have no money to make this money. She said, I have no money. I says, you have no money. She said, well, if I have no money, guess what happens? She started just coming up with all of these ways. Now remember, all these years thinking about it, all these years working on stuff that didn't matter, we started talking about walk me to your first dollars. And she says, oh, I would do this. I would do pre-sales. I says, could you call up 5 people right now and get them to put down a deposit via Cash App, right? No bulky invoices, none of that kind of stuff. Could you get them to Cash App you $100 each? She says, yeah, I know 5 people. I says, get those 5 people. And she says, and then I says, well, what do you have now? It's day one. What do you got? She says, I got $500. I said, what would you do with that $500? Is your venue or is your thing going to cost you a little down payment? Yeah, they might have to put me a down payment on it. I says, okay, could you do that? She said, yeah. I says, could you build a landing page for like pennies? Put something up? And she said, oh yeah. I said, well, how are you going to reach the other people you need to make that 5,000? Oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. She had it all laid out because it was the prompt. It was to walk me through it. I says, okay. I said, so let's see if I got this right. If you were having this venue next week, and because you know a lot of venues aren't booked, you can get it. You can probably get it at a discount. You already got $500 seed money because someone says, I believe enough in you. I'm going to come to this thing. Walked it all the way through to $5,000. And then at the end of it, I says, I'll see you next week. Right? I should be getting a phone call saying, I'm going to have this venue. It's going to be great. It's going to be a thing. And it's a great timing because people want to get out of the house. Right. And I says, now you've got just some stuff coming from the CDC saying, hey, people that have been fully vaccinated, they could meet and without mask on. I says, now it's at the right time to have that thing. She'd been working on this thing for years, but it's working on the wrong thing. And then not having the patience for the profits to sit down and do the actual math on it. That's starting with the spreadsheet. Right now, John, right? We started our newsletter, and this is what we're going to be working on guys. It's not going to be a long podcast today because we got to get on and work on this thing. But when we were talking the other day, we were talking about, the different things that we're involved in and, why sometimes we switch gears. It's because we want money. We want this thing to work now, right? And we have to remind ourselves. I had to remind John, everybody, that, his project is going all right. Had a really big order. That's a win. Right now, the question becomes, how can we string together based on what you want to make? This thing's got to make me $1 million. Okay. That means I need to string together 15 more of those big projects like that just came through. 15 more of those. How many you got so far? 3, 4, 5. Okay. Well, that gives you some math. You want to make that $1 million for the year? Yes, I do. I want this to be an ongoing concern. And then we look down and say, okay, all of our energy, all of our efforts, all of our everything needs to go into getting 15 more of these. And what I'm noticing, John, from your company is that it's possible. If one person will order 300 pairs, or if one organization will order 300 pairs, more organizations will. Because you got a great message. You're doing an interesting thing with, your give back approach. And somebody already bit. It's like, wow, somebody already bit. Who else will bite? And that's not even the reoccurring. If they bite once, they might come back and go, I'll bite again because it worked out really, really well. So now we got, without the possibility of reoccurrence, let's just say, how many more of those? So I'm doing a press release. I mean, a specific minded kind of press release. After that big win, organization purchases 300 pair to do this. Now you get that fear of missing out from other organizations. They'll go, who is that? Who did what? I'd talk to every single one of their competitors, every single one of the persons that supply them, all these different lines and lanes of who else I could talk to maybe want to do 300 pair for their organization, especially if it's a specific kind of in this case, for ineffable socks. You know what I mean? Line those up, put it on the spreadsheet and says, we're doing nothing else but going to these organizations. See if we can get 295 more. I mean, you know what I mean? It's based on the math. And then what I think happens, John, is that we look at the business and you go, wait a minute, my original want for this business was that it makes me some good money. Right? I don't know if you time framed it out. Did you say you're going to make millions and millions of dollars in less than 6 months?
Yeah, remember? Yeah, that was my initial thought was 6 months. And it,
6 months says
and
to
you and
me, go fast.
and you and I have talked about this. It's like
Mm,
it's very difficult when you go from business to business because sometimes you try to project
yeah,
the success or the results of a type of business that isn't relevant. If you're doing, if you're building houses at, $300,000 a pop, and you're selling socks, I mean, you have to sell a lot more socks to equal that one house in gross sales. So we have to be realistic when we're looking at these
absolutely.
things, because sometimes we look at the numbers that we've done in the past on projects that look totally different than the one that we're looking at, and we have to say, well, really, is that realistic in that
Yeah,
time frame?
yeah, not the whole apples, comparing apples to oranges. They're both fruit. However, they take different things, right? Apple trees versus orange trees. They give back different things. Um,
Like the bamboo tree we talked about, we
yeah,
talked about. I mean, you don't see any results for what, 5 6 years, and then boom, it shoots up. And that's how our businesses can be. And it's difficult, because a lot of times, we may have done something in the past that has that immediate gratification.
mhm. Mostly I find with the entrepreneurs, John, is jobs. If you're coming from a job, and a lot of people are trying entrepreneurship because there's been just a mass turnover in jobs.
Mhm.
And if you have the same expectation that you're going to get a check at the end of the week, well, you're going to be disappointed. Unless, now here's where I think we can lament about the problems associated with entrepreneurship, blah, 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 right? But we are in the problem solving business. Unless you are and have the kind of fire that says, no matter what, I got to eat next week. And this vehicle that I've chosen has to feed me, right? And I go a little extreme sometimes, depending on the entrepreneur I'm talking to, making sure that they can handle the next message. Is I says, okay, if I'm going to come, next week and take your puppies away, or I'm gonna steal your house shoes, or whatever it is I'm gonna do, unless I'm gonna take your comforts. In other words, some things that you love away, unless you achieve this goal. In other words, what is the fire underneath you that's gonna make you go that fast? I says, and I always get the most interesting answers when I ask that question. If I were to come and do this, right? If you had a chance to make double, or you're going to lose, not to make double, but you're going to lose this unless you do this. People always seem to come up with the answer. I
Yeah.
mean, they'll walk you right through it. Well, I'm going to walk down the street and I'm gonna sell candy if I have to. I will do this if I have to. But yet, the business is demanding of you that you have to. What's wrong? Don't you believe in it? You know what I mean? Then if you start digging in there, John, that's where you
Mhm.
get to. Somewhere there's not a belief. Because if we had just that, John, you just have socks. That's it. Your family's over there and they want to be fed. They're used to enjoying. What are you gonna do?
Mhm.
Right? What I mean, you got to make these. You will have socks in hand out of the back of your trunk, going around the businesses. You would do whatever it. I personally believe that you would.
So so think about that, Randy. And we've seen this before. I mean, we've all passed different places where people have a corner set up and they'll have blankets hanging out on yard lines, you know what I'm talking about, or
Mhm,
different
mhm.
things that they're selling. And I think there's a sense of, well, I'm too good for that.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And
I've
yeah,
I've had better. I've
and
done better.
right. And so I actually had a conversation with my father last weekend, and my dad said, hey, when you were growing up, um, we didn't have much of anything, and I would take my mop bucket, or my not mop bucket, but my pail and a squeegee and whatnot.
Mhm.
And he said I'd walk from business to business asking, "Hey, you need your windows clean?" And I think, in and there's a sense of me that says, "Man, I don't know if I could do that, if I could humble myself to that."
Mm.
But then I look at my dad in awe and I say, "Wow, he did whatever it took." And I think that's the thing that as business owners we struggle with, is
Yeah.
doing whatever it takes. I'm not talking about doing, slimy things that are illegal or that you're cheating people. I'm talking about the hard stuff that builds character.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. Who has patience for that?
right, right.
Right? Nobody has patience for that. Open sesame money. Right? And I tell you, it's when you want to call, it's why we've heard this story, why immigrants come here and do well. They have to. So in certain cases, and you have there's books are written about it, and we've talked a little bit about this in some of our earlier episodes, but it's worth swinging back around too, because we're just noticing this. Hey, where's the money? This open sesame money amongst our entrepreneurs, this open sesame money idea. Well, there's two things that, in my estimation, needs to happen. We got to show them how to get some open sesame money, right? And then in that, how to get it is the do this all day, every day, do this all day, every day, do this all day, every day. And then it is in that work that you'll put in, that's above and beyond what you used to do, whether you worked for somebody or you had that other company,
Mhm.
right? Sometimes the company had the systems in place,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It had built in levers that just needed to be pulled harder, stronger, or in a more convenient way. And that's when you were able maybe to come in and buy the company and say, okay, it's flat sales, but there's some stuff here, and I'm pulling levers better. I'm putting people in place better. But when we start a business, that's a whole nother animal. That's the apple to the orange,
Yep.
right? So then my question becomes, all right, how do we now put in place the levers? So all you got to do is pull them. And you're doing that. That's what I'm saying. You're doing it. I'm seeing it, right? Hey, I'm bringing some other people on to kind of, help me think this through. I'm doing some different marketing stuff, but then no patience for the work that you're putting in to pay off. And
Yep.
yet you see it pay off. Hey, we do a press release, we get sales. Well, do press releases every week, right? I was literally reading about this, John. I got a note here. Um, of course, I got a course here that I'm finishing up called how's it called? How to turn annoying emails into cash in your pockets, right? Right. So I brought this one right here. It's about how one company, get this, sent 8,158 press releases and grossed over $750,000 in 2 years' time.
Wow. Wow.
Right? Now, this was such a why I love this particular email is because in here is the gold, right? And this is what I teach in that particular in that class, right? Is let's reverse engineer this. Now, this is what I did. And this is what some of the stuff I break out in the class on how to do it. So I watched what they did, and get this. Here's what's beautiful about this. Now I had signed up to something. It was or get a free download, blah blah blah. Right. So now they're sending me emails. Now I love it because oh my goodness. So this company is basically telling us what they did. All right, well, let's go see if we can, do that same thing. How are we going to do it? So we're going to set it up in a way. We're going to check out who's the best places to send press releases to, et cetera, et cetera. You all right? So I went and found out who they used. I went and checked out the price. I asked myself, okay, does this sound reasonable? Well, if I spend the $40 or whatever and it returns me 80, then you better believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, take and as I applied this to the sock company, Ineffable Socks, yours, right? I says, well, they work because every time you do one and get some release or some attention, sock sales go up. Huh? More sales equal more money. I hope. Right. And then, so if I keep doing those and people started seeing my story over and over and over again, and I'm making sales, as long as I'm making sales above expenses, then why wouldn't I do that more often? So this one little story here becomes at least an idea that is working for someone, right? And listen what they talked about. He talked about, who is the media that they were using, right? And then it says, press release. It says, did I mention press release, the real strategy that experts and pros are quietly using PR to build traffic and ranking every single day. So now you say, okay, traffic and ranking, what do I know about that? Oh, they're using the SEO approach. Now this company is an SEO place. So you see what their ideal is. Let me show you someone that's using it. We have a company that does it. Would you like to use our company to do yours too? Kind of a thing.
Mm.
That's the sell. But I'm okay with that because you reverse engineer this. Hey, other companies are buying our socks. How many? We've got over 150 different people, different company, whatever, that's bought our socks. Oh, I don't want to miss out. Fear of missing out. In that press release, right? In that next story. Now you're putting that out there, and companies are going, well, who is this Ineffable Socks that's doing all these interesting things? We see them in the news, so it's not fake, right? We see somebody just did a 300, sock order. What is happening? And next thing you know, more of that. 8,158 press releases.
Mm.
So I started thinking about that. How many press releases is that a day? Well, that's not the point is. And as a result, $750,000 in gross sales.
Are they sending? I want to know. Are they sending those press releases to the same You know what I mean? The same news outlets.
That becomes the question. That's the dig. That's the work, right? So when I see this, I go, how could I reverse engineer it? How, and look at what they say here on this one line. It says, do you know the entire world has over 5,000 press releases issued every 24 hours?
Hmm.
And then it says, if press release is not a good strategy, pros around the world would not be sending 5,000 press releases every 24 hours. Like it or not, the statistics speak for itself. So, with that in mind, while everybody's running after, they're running after the normal. Well, I'm sending Facebook ads, and Facebook ads are getting hard now because Facebook is under so much trouble. I'm doing YouTube ads, I'm doing Pinterest, I'm doing this, and somebody's over there sending 8,158 press releases and getting $750,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm.
That's driving them to the web page. That's driving them to landing pages or whatever they have out there. Right now, they probably, and then they told the service that they're using, and I'll share that with you after we get off the call. But my point here, everybody, as you listen to this, we start saying, all right, do you have the patience for profits? Will you send out 8,158 press releases? Now, keep in mind, gross versus, but if you're in your gross, you've got your salaries, you've got your payments for the business, you got it all figured in. You could be breaking even and everybody could be eating. Because I would hope that you would put into your spreadsheet numbers, this is what I need the company to make. This is what I needed to make so it can pay me a salary. This is what I needed to make so it can pay my partner a salary and get everybody paid. So if you get your gross and you start working it out and go, okay, here's my net, right? And everybody's paid. I put in a little for the company, a little spiff for the company. 15% has to come to the company so I can, do more of this stuff. all of these factors going in. Now you're just looking at the math of your spreadsheet and you're saying, this is what I asked for. This is what the company says you must do for me to get this money. And then every single day, our job, number one job, is to do that. Ask yourself a question. Are you putting it in? As it says on paper, it needs to be put in. Are you doing it? If you're not, you're lying to yourself. If you know I need to make 8 phone calls and you made one, because you
Right.
know if 8 phone calls closes two, and that two breaks you even. That's the big question, everybody. That's why we want to have a serious conversation. John, look, he's not even in the same spot. He's chilled out, he's laid back and saying, let's talk, right? And we do this for ourselves. We need to kind of pump ourselves up. We got businesses out here and we get impatient too. We want open sesame money too. So we like to solve our own problems first by hearing it, being inspired by it, being motivated, and then going, yeah, what do I need to do?
And I think the important thing too is what we're doing in this process is we're real. These are real things that people are struggling with, that business owners are struggling with. And so us being able to come out and say, hey, this is natural and we get it because we struggle with these same things. We're human beings. We're not, individuals that don't have these worldly struggles because we too have these.
Absolutely. We're not Ivy Tower here, right? John and I have our own individual businesses, and this is why we mastermind on this stuff, right? We kind of say, John, what do we need to solve today? And not just for ourselves, but how else can we talk about these things and let these things get into the earshot of someone else who's saying, yeah, I'm struggling with patience for profits too, because they may have come off a job that was paying them some good money and that check came every 2 weeks.
And here's the thing that I wanted to say when you were talking about that a few minutes back, several minutes back, is that yes, you do have steady income, whether you're paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or whatnot, unless you're in a commission position when you
Mhm.
do have a job. But at the same time, you also know how much you're going to make 5 years from now with, even if we're taking cost of living increases into account,
Mhm.
that you're talking about, hey, you're getting a 2% or 3% raise a year. You know what you're, so you don't have the ability to alter that in any way unless you
Right.
change jobs or change positions
Good
or
point.
whatnot. Where entrepreneurship is different, you do have the capability of doing tremendously more than you did last year, and
Yeah.
setting those goals and reaching out and accomplishing them, and not just accomplishing them, but set your life on a trajectory that is comfortable for you, and what you can foresee your future looking like.
Gosh, that's a powerful statement, John. And I came across, this is funny. I came across one of my when I started Our Bridge Business Institute, and I came across one of the original subheads, right? And it was enriching lives. Because I said, asking, what do I want to do this? Why do I want to do this? So, well, I'd like to enrich lives. How? Well, I'm a businessman. So, and it one of the original subheads, it was Our Bridge Business Institute, enriching lives through business creation.
Hmm.
Enriching lives through business creation, right? And I pulled it out of one of my old files, and I may be reinstituting that, right? And what, because right now it's where business creation is the classroom, right? Well, that to me didn't seem to have the same power now, that it did then, and the original one does. Can we enrich lives? Enrich lives through the use of business. That's what has been my big thing, because I was reading some material and it says, well, what is your theme? What is your life? What do you want to do? What is your legacy? What is the information you want to leave behind? And it was like, I always thought people could get better if they use business principles. That was it. And then enriching lives through business creation, right? And to your point, you're now saying, hey, listen, there's much more you can be. You can uncap your earnings. You don't have to settle for the job that is maybe pay you 100 grand a year, 50 grand a year, 40 grand a year. That, listen, here's some math that says one company is sending out press releases and making 750,000 in 2 years, right? So that's 375 some odd $1,000 a year. And he said, well, let's break that down. And that's why the value came in this email, because it got me inspired. And then it said, and then I start saying, let me see what I can use. Now they doing some great affiliate marketing are saying, hey, this is the company that they use. And what did I do? Went over to that company, drove traffic from an email, drove traffic to their company, now has me thinking about using that company, and now the email has worked. Right? That's their job. And they're saying, hey, we have a company that allows you to um, do this stuff in a certain way. And they're kind of like in the search marketing space, right? They have a business you can go and use their company to find different things, right? And I'm a search marketer. So I says, man, I'm going to reverse engineer this thing. And then not only that, I want to share it with other people, right? So let's see if we can find the cost effective way to send out press releases to the right spots, right? This is one of the things that they've talked about. If you use our company, we send them out to this spot. So you can look at it and go, okay, I see what they're doing here. I see the outlets they're sending them to. And then those outlets, because they have readership and eyeballs and listenership and all that kind of stuff, right? Now you send them over to your page. You have a very nice page that has your socks, right? And it has the message on there, all that. Imagine if then your page just started getting way more hits and people started seeing it. People started buying as a result. And then companies said, well, what's going on over here? Or a big company comes in and says, what's this taking our sales? Maybe they need to do a deal,
Yep.
right? Maybe they need to come in and says, hey, listen, here's 5 million for you to go away. You go, wait a minute, my numbers are starting to work now. The patience of profits. Do you have the patience to let the profits come in with the work that you do? That's it, John. This one wasn't going to be a long one, man, but that's what I want to get into, because we actually, after we talk, we're going to be uh, going over to our newsletter
Hmm.
that we started our business, and we're going to be going over and approving some things. But we just wanted to come on and talk about this. You know, the that whole idea that it's open sesame money. Entrepreneurship equals open sesame money. It does not, unless you're doing something specific. Unless you're just saying, I'm putting it all in, letting it all hang out. I know the numbers, and if you hit those numbers based on those projections that you put and the work and the action. We do projections all day long, don't we, John? But do
Absolutely.
we put the action in there? This is what I need to make. Well, who's going to go make it? You. Anyway, hey John, I know you're relaxing, man. Let's jump off of here. Is there a couple things you want to say and share with everybody before we jump into our work?
So yeah, the big thing that I want to emphasize is that this is natural to feel this way. This is natural to feel like, hey, I want this open sesame money. I started business, I'm working hard, and I want to see immediate results. Like anything, there is no way that I'm going to start exercising tomorrow and have a six pack in 6 weeks. Uh, it's it, it's impossible. And when we look around and we see other individuals and we project what we think, we start to get frustrated because we wonder what's wrong with us. But we really don't know. We really don't know how successful someone is. And let's say they are successful. We may not have the same network as them, the same opportunities. The social capital is huge as well. So it doesn't mean that you can't get there. It doesn't mean that you can't surpass that.
Right.
But what it means is that it's going to take some time.
Patience equals profits, everybody. Patience. We got to get out of that no patience for profits. This is instantaneous money, is just, those days are over. If we can create the right opportunity, right? I don't care if it's NFTs or if it's GameStop stock. It doesn't matter, right? If it's cryptocurrency, if you notice, the patient money in the cryptos is, patient money. When Bitcoin was going crazy, when it was nothing, right? Or as Dogecoin is pennies, do you have the patience to wait on the profits through the ups and the crashes like crazy? The stuff that makes you scared. That's where the money's at, everybody. And that's our wish for you. We will talk to you on next week. John and I have something to get into. We're going to go ahead and do that so that we can bring you even more value with the other stuff that we create for you. We'll talk to you soon.